Hi everyone, Rukhshani here. Thanks for joining me for this video. I wanted to give you an update on an incident that occurred while I was working as an independent journalist in the city of Melbourne. I was assaulted in front of members of Victoria Police by pro-Palestinian protesters while I was covering a motion that was being discussed by the Melbourne City Council regarding a ceasefire in the Israel-Gaza conflict. Now, I was there in my capacity as a journalist, but I'm also a resident of Melbourne. And in that capacity, I went to the Melbourne City Council to see what my local council was doing because I thought it was newsworthy based on the fact that they were discussing a foreign affairs military conflict, which has very little to do with the local municipality council. For that reason, I was there because I thought it was newsworthy to see how many resources had been designated to this in terms of police resources, as well as in terms of any disharmony that has been caused by this motion that Melbourne City Council has put forward. Now, as I was working and filming the doorway and the entryway of the council city building on the outskirts of a group of pro-Palestinian supporters that were there, a small number of those individuals on the more extreme edge of that group approached me and started to intimidate me for my reasons to being there.
Sorry? No, I'm working for myself, man. I'm working for myself. I'm working for myself, man. Calm down, bro. Calm down, bro. Calm down. I'm not going to be intimidated, man. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
At that point, I told them to leave me alone and to not touch me because they were putting their hands towards my face. This aggressive group of people wanted to know about my associations with an Israeli Jewish member of the Australian community, namely Avi Yemeni. Now, as I said before, I was there on my own volition, in my own capacity as an independent journalist, doing my own news vlog and own reporting. I am my own person. There is no reason whatsoever in Australia that any individual, in particular journalists, have to give to aggressive individuals who want to know about personal relationships or about associations with people from wherever it may be, whether they're Israeli or Jewish. We live in a multicultural country, for God's sakes. There is no reason whatsoever. But I did entertain the question, and like I made it very clear at the time, I don't work for anyone. I work for myself.
No, I'm working for myself, man. I'm working for myself. I'm working for myself, man.
In that regard, I continued to try my best in that space to do my job and work. It is at that point that members of Victoria Police approached me and told me that I could not be in this space. Now, I'm very respectful and I'm happy to have a decent conversation with the members of Victoria Police as to why I cannot be in this space. What the Victoria Police told me is shocking. They told me that if I stay in this space, I will get my head kicked in.
These people are threatening me.
You're going to get your head punched in.
For what? Are you saying they're violent?
Mate, you're causing the issue.
I'm not causing the issue. I'm just reporting.
Okay, well, I respectfully ask
You guys have to protect me.
I respectfully ask.
I respectfully ask you.
On the other side of the road. Not in the crowd. Okay?
I'm doing it here.
No.
I respectfully ask you.
You either do it on the other side of the road, or
Why don't you guys protect journalists? There's other journalists here.
okay.
Why are you picking on me?
I'd like you to go stand up.
Why are you picking on me? Just tell me why.
They told me that because of my association with an Israeli Jewish individual, that I cannot be here working as a journalist. All of this is in front of the Melbourne City Council. The Melbourne City Council is a council for all of the city of Melbourne. It is not designated per individual group or per minority. It is for everyone. Working outside of it on a news story is accessible to anyone that wants to cover that news story. I do not believe the role of the police is to take the commands from protesters to profile people based on friendships and relationships that they may have with individuals that have nothing to do with the work that they are doing at that very moment.
Because of your association?
Because of my association because I have a Jewish friend. Are you saying because I have a Jewish friend, I can't be a journalist?
I'm impartial.
You're allowing them to say to you, because I have a Jewish friend, I'm allowed to have Jewish friends.
It is actually very offensive in this country to hear from the mouths of people who are there to uphold laws and values in Australia, to hear from them that because you have an Israeli Jewish friend, that you have to go across the road to the other side and work from there. It is actually quite disturbing and frankly weird to hear that in Australia. But Even though I persisted and I did talk back and forth with the police because I wanted to make it very clear that I do not believe what they were doing is correct. That's very important to me to make that clear to the police. The police are obligated to do their job, but they're also obligated to give clear directions to individuals, including those who are being aggressive. The police did not take any such action. In fact, they focused in on me. They ignored the people who were agitating, they ignored the people who were being aggressive, and they took out whatever frustration they were having with their inability to control such a situation onto me, a journalist who is there doing my job in a public space while a motion is being discussed in the Melbourne City Council. So yes, I did stand my ground with Victoria Police because I feel it's important that independent journalists always protect their ground and speak up when police and other authorities and other individuals are doing things which are untoward and which are beyond the realm of the things which you should expect of them in such instances. So therefore, I stood my ground. But because I'm reasonable, when I felt that this situation was potentially not a good situation, I crossed the road. I crossed the road to the place the police had told me to go to, the place that they had told me that as an individual who has a Israeli Jewish friend, as an individual who's also a journalist, to kowtow to the demands of the aggressive individuals in the pro-Palestinian group, I went across the road. And from there, I was planning to continue to do my work. See, the Melbourne City Council, the city of Melbourne, doesn't belong to one minority. It doesn't belong to one group. There are many people in our society and in our community, and it is there for all of us. I keep reiterating this because these individuals followed me. They didn't follow me to talk to me or engage with me in polite conversation and tell me their story and the reason that they're there. No, they followed me across the road where the police had told me to go, where they told me that I would be safe, according to them. Now, at that point, as I had crossed the road, an individual followed me from that group, holding some type of scarf in front of my camera to block my view from filming. So from across the road, I was not allowed to film the city council because this individual followed me to the place where the police told me to cross. Now, while I was there, another individual who had earlier been very aggressive towards me in his tone and manner and wanted to know about my associations with Israeli Jewish individuals, that individual followed me across the road as well. And he then proceeded to assault me 2 times.
Stay away from me, man. Stay away from me. Stay away from me, man. Stay away from me. Stay away from me, bro. Why you touch me? Don't kick me, bro.
First, on my upper body. And secondly, by kicking me in the shin. As he was committing each assault, his words tried to imply that I was doing it to him. However, there was video being recorded of these assaults taking place. And I know many people look at incidents like this and they don't see the fists flying in the air and punches to the face, and they don't believe it's assault. But it is actually assault. It's assault and intimidation. These people followed me from across the road to let me know that I was not welcome in my own city to work as a journalist because they had deemed who should be allowed in any space where they believe that they belong to only. And this all happened in front of the police. That is perhaps the most shocking part for me. All of this was witnessed by members of Victoria Police. As soon as I was assaulted, I told members of Victoria Police, look, there he is. That's the individual that assaulted me.
He assaulted me. He assaulted me. You got it on camera? I want to get that, charge that guy. He touched me. I got it on camera. Him. He touched me. He touched me. He touched me.
Hey, mate, I think you're asked to move on.
He touched me. I moved. He told me to come to this side. He told me to come to this side.
I said it multiple times. I kept pointing him out because that individual lingered on in that same space all that time in front of Victoria Police, taunting me, taunting my wife who was there. We had just earlier had dinner at a local restaurant, and as she had gone to go for a walk, she had seen the live stream and come back. And luckily, she had filmed me being assaulted by these individuals.
With the stuff with the foot.
Maybe she's a dope bitch.
What did you call my wife? Look at these guys, man. Yeah. It's alright. I'm happy to have Jewish friends. I don't mind.
Now, many of you might think I'm making a big deal of this, and that's because it's important. It's important that independent journalists like myself can continue to work in Australia in a free and fair society where we are not intimidated, where we know where members of the police are there watching over protests or other activities which are occurring, that they will take the appropriate steps to protect journalists as well as members of the public. And that when an assault occurs, no matter when it occurs or to whom it occurs, no matter the circumstances, that police are willing and able to do their job in identifying individuals responsible for these assaults. Now, the reason that I'm saying identify individuals, well, at that point, the person that had assaulted me in front of Victoria Police was completely masked up. That's right, he was completely masked. And I told Victoria Police that that is the individual, you need to identify him. The police told me that they will do that later.
The policeman told me to come to this side. I came to this side. They followed me and they assaulted me here. Sorry? Yeah, I'm in fear, man.
Well, we can follow that up at a later time.
Now, I didn't understand at that moment what they were trying to say to me. It took me a little bit of time to click onto the fact that Victoria Police had no interest whatsoever in identifying the masked individual that attacked me in front of them.
You saw who he is. Go get him from the crowd. Obviously what? You can't do it.
Just can you let me speak,
Okay.
please? There's a spectrum, okay?
Okay.
That's a relatively minor assault, okay? I'm not
A minor assault, okay. So that is an assault.
I'm not
Okay.
saying it's not an assault, I'm
Yeah.
saying it's a minor assault. There's
Yeah.
a spectrum, okay?
Yeah.
Minor, major. Major is something like a stabbing.
Yeah.
Minor is something like that, a little push.
Yeah. That wasn't a little pushback. He kicked me and grazed me on my leg.
I just had a look at the footage, I couldn't see a kick.
Okay.
I saw him like chest bump you essentially.
He kicked me, man.
Why are you recording me like this?
I'm live streaming the whole time.
Okay,
You guys are
I'm just
police in public. I'm live streaming, bro.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just asking, mate.
Why do you record me? Look at you. All your cameras are on. It's a silly question to ask. Like, it's a ridiculous question to ask.
You're being very confrontational.
Because you guys aren't doing your job, man. That guy told me to come to this side, and they're assaulting me here. And these guys are just watching on.
No, they had no interest whatsoever. Now, they had ample opportunities to find out the details on that individual because he lingered on in that space and in that group for a considerable amount of time after assaulting me. I pleaded with members of Victoria Police to identify my attacker, yet they were not interested. In fact, Victoria Police members told me it is too dangerous to identify such an individual in that group.
Because he's in a mask. You can identify him right now and get his details. So I want you to do that. But you saw him assault me. He just showed the video. He just said on my camera that it was a minor assault. So how are you going to know who assaulted me? With how? He's wearing a mask. Come on, man.
Anyway, the fact of the matter is just understand the story.
Bro, these cops just saw a video of some guy assaulting me, and you're telling me
Getting your details.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's there with a mask on.
sound really.
They're investigating. They're investigating.
Investigating what?
They're investigating your
You can get the guy's details right now. He's wearing a mask.
See, apparently that peaceful protest group or supporters group that had gathered in front of Melbourne City Council was so dangerous that members of Victoria Police were too afraid to even engage with individuals in that group who may have come out of that group to assault a member of the public in front of them. That is how dangerous apparently this group is. Now, what am I to make of all of this? Are you telling me that members of Victoria Police are protecting individuals who are dangerous to the public, who come out at free will whenever they want to assault people and then go back into a group and are protected because Victoria Police are too afraid to act? Are you telling me that the safest thing possible for journalists in Australia like myself to do, especially journalists in Australia who have Jewish Israeli friends, is not to turn up at all to gatherings on the public square where the Melbourne City Council is discussing a public motion for residents of Melbourne? Are you telling me the most safest thing for a journalist to do in this city, in this country, is not even to show up because members of Victoria Police are too afraid, they're too scared? And for me as a journalist, if I am going through this, And if this is happening as members of these groups are assaulting people in front of police themselves, I could only imagine what this must feel like for other members of the public, other members of communities who are subject to this type of taunting and attacks. And I did, of course, find out later on that other incidents of this nature had also occurred to other people who had tickets to attend these events in front of members of Victoria Police, and a similar line of action at that time was taken. This is, of course, all unacceptable. Like I said to members of Victoria Police that day as I was filming, this is not a third world country. We are not in the Middle East. We are here in Australia. Act like police in Australia. Uphold the rights of individuals and the freedoms of the press. If you cannot do those most basic things, and if your only task is to watch while people in your city are assaulted in front of you, and then to say and plead that you cannot do anything because you're too afraid and it's too dangerous for your members, then what are you even doing? What is your role in all of this? And who are the individuals who are so dangerous that you are protecting? How has it come to a point that we have these dangerous individuals who have such a hold over our police force that with impunity, they walk amongst us, beat us, and then go away like nothing ever happened, all while masked? Just complete and utter madness in our city of Melbourne. I don't know when this change happened. I don't know when the police in this city decided that it's okay for members of the public to be assaulted. I don't know if this is only applies to certain individuals and certain groups. I've seen many assaults being laid against individuals by Victoria Police for the most basic of touches, for the most basic of thoughts even, for incitement, for Facebook posts. We've all seen what Victoria Police is capable of in those last couple of years. For the most basic things, I've seen people arrested and thrown to the ground. I've seen innocent people treated that way as well. But in this instance, we saw someone who was clearly causing intimidation towards me, someone who clearly assaulted me and touched me, all in plain sight in front of the police, and yet nothing could be done. Now, that wasn't the only incident I was involved in that night. As I was filming towards the end of my coverage, another individual approached me, politely at first, but then his conversation turned into what I interpreted as veiled threats towards Avi Yemeni's life.
He's going to get it one day. No.
It's on the video, man. It's on live stream.
Oh, yeah. That's all right.
Yeah. You want to say that on the camera?
No, I'm sure he knows.
Yeah? So Avi's going to get it one day? Avi's going to get it one day?
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
When I questioned him about this and told him that I'm on a live stream at the moment, he turned violent and grabbed my hand and tried to steal my phone.
Fair enough, man.
It's a blood pressure.
Yeah. Touch me. Did you get that on video? You assaulted me as well.
You're filming in your
assaulted
face.
me.
Yeah, you're telling me
you're making threats to me.
At that point, when I challenged him on this and took my phone back, he realized he was being filmed and walked off. Both these incidents have shown me that it's very dangerous to be working as an independent journalist within Victoria, especially in the city of Melbourne, where police are very indifferent to these type of incidents. Now, both these incidents of assault, I would like to follow up with Victoria Police. As I have said, they have been very slow to act on this on my behalf. They have not been ready and able to take a statement on this matter. And as I've mentioned before, very clearly, the opportunity was there for them to actually question at least one of these individuals at that moment of time, but they chose not to out of fear. Now, what does all of this mean? I've seen a lot of comments from people telling me just to suck it up and deal with it, or people telling me that, well, it's so much worse elsewhere. How dare you talk about the situation that you're faced with? Actually, the reason that we live in such a fantastic country, such as Australia, the reason that we enjoy a lot of the freedoms that we enjoy, particularly around press freedoms, is because we uphold those rights and those values. And it's very important that those boundaries are understood by police and by members of the public. I've always, for all these years, maintained the rights of independent journalists, and I've fought very hard to protect them from encroachment by overzealous police, as well as protesters and individuals that try to control situations which they are not privy to. See, a meeting in the council, even if it's an issue being discussed that is somehow related to something that you believe in and support does not mean that you own that meeting, does not mean that anyone else in this community cannot discuss or talk about that meeting in whichever way that they like. This is a free democratic nation where we have all manner of opinions being discussed. I will not be intimidated by masked cowards like this, who are too afraid to even show their face, who preach peace, but at the same time instigate violence against journalists in this country. I have no tolerance for these type of individuals, and nor should members of the public, the police, our governments, or anyone else. Now, since the beginning, I have been very open about my views. I have been very clear in my positions. I have openly condemned and will continue to condemn acts of terrorism against innocent civilians. In the same note, I condemn acts of international war crimes against innocent populations as well. However, regardless of my personal views on these issues, when I am working, I come from a very neutral standpoint. It's not dictated by anyone, and I give commentary based on what I see around me, and I tell it how it is. And whether people like it or not is not for me to judge. Other people will ultimately judge my work. I also want to thank you all for the messages of support and well wishes and for checking in on my welfare. I really appreciate it. I will continue to follow up with any updates on these matters as I follow through with the police and let you know how the police is going in their investigations. As I've said, I will not be intimidated and I will not back down and not stop doing the very important work of citizen independent journalism, which is vital, especially in the climate that we have in a mainstream media that is oblivious to many of these issues that we face in our community. All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow for the next episode of the news vlog. Hope you have an awesome day. Take care. Bye.